So there are multiple characters like that I play, and sort of people understand now that okay, how is one character different from the other, and like everyone has their own quirks when I play that particular character.
First of all, tell me how are you so that we can start it further to that.
I'm good. How I like matlab I had flu abhi recently because of the changing Delhi weather, but like I'm doing much better now. Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I want to know how you come up with the idea of becoming a finance influencer and what was your journey before becoming an influencer?
Right. So actually, becoming a content creator was never in the cards. Before this, I actually did my undergrad in finance from Delhi University. And then after that, I started working with like a big three consulting firm. I was working in a management consulting firm. I worked there for almost 2 years. And after that, I quit that job and I became a freelancer and I started helping fintech companies with their strategy because I had that background in strategy and finance, right? So fintech became like the right space for me. So I became a strategist for some of the biggest fintech companies in the country, and then slowly and gradually even expanded abroad, right? So also got international clients on board. So this was around 2020, 2021, and this was when one of the biggest fintech companies in our country actually asked me to become the face of their YouTube channel because they were just coming up with their English YouTube channel at the time. To that, I said an immediate no because I was really camera conscious.
Mhm.
Uh, yeah, so actually becoming a content creator was never in the cards because I was really shy of the camera. But then once I said no to them, they immediately hired someone else, obviously, because the show must go on.
Mhm.
So in hindsight, I think after sitting with that thought of like, okay, I'm never going to be comfortable in front of the camera and I probably should work towards it, that's
Yeah.
when I decided to come up with my own content. And when I started out, I actually didn't start out with my own name. I started out with a pseudo name, which was called the Money Sapling, because
Okay.
I just didn't want people to recognize me or people to recognize that okay, I was the face behind the page. And in fact, I was not even putting out video content. I was just putting out like static posts. So
Okay.
that's how it started out. But slowly and gradually, I think I gained the confidence to sort of start showing my face on the camera, and then yeah, change the name to my own name. So yeah, it's been quite a journey.
That's a really great journey. So since when you started out, what was the year?
I started out in April of 2021.
It's 2021 only, and it has been just 2 years, and you have grown really nicely. So would you like
Yes.
to share some of the bits about your journey as an influencer?
Right. So I think when I started out in April of 2021, pandemic second wave was like in full swing.
Mhm.
So I was just looking at like a distraction from what was happening, like outside because I had COVID, my entire family had COVID, and like Delhi literally became the epicenter for wave two. So it was really scary just in general. So I think at the time, while I was also freelancing with the clients that I just mentioned, this became like a creative outlet for me that okay, rather than like watching the news and consuming all of that negative news that was on that was available for consumption, what I rather did with my free time was like I started creating content on the side, and I never thought that I'll be monetizing it or this will become anything. It
Yeah,
just became this thing that took my mind off like
yeah,
the other negative things that were happening in the environment. So yeah, that was pretty much it. But I remember within like the first month and a half, I got my first paid partnership. So one of the brands that I was working with as a strategist got to know that I also had a page. So they said that considering you also already know our product, you already know like what we stand for, then why don't we do like an Instagram live with you? And of course, it can be a paid partnership. That was when I first recognized that okay, this is something that can be monetized or this is something that I can make money out of. Honestly, for the longest time I had no clue that this was also an option. So I think that's when it hit me that the audience that I'm building, because it's so niche, because it's just finance, companies are ready to pay a price just to reach that audience. So I think that was my first wake up call. And ever since then, realized that okay, if I have to grow on the platform, I need to focus a lot more on video content, because that's the only way to grow, right? At the time, Instagram was also focusing a lot on reels. I'm sure you know that. So yeah, so like as I mentioned, I was focusing just on static posts earlier, but I think after that shift, I started focusing a lot more on video content. And I remember the first few videos were not even featuring me. So I remember the first video that I put out was actually my dad's. So my dad is a chartered accountant, okay? So like that adds an extra layer of like
Yeah.
finance there.
Definitely.
And
Yeah.
and the video was just about him going through like my crypto portfolio, because in 2021 crypto was also in full swing. So he's actually just looking at the portfolio and laughing. And that video became like got like 7 million views.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, even though I had an existing audience of about 2,000 people, suddenly after that video I had like 5,000, 6,000 people following me. So
Yeah.
it became like a significant number. And that's when I recognized the power of like video content on the platform also. And that's when like I shifted my strategy towards from just static posts to also creating video content.
Hmm. Okay, that's great. So,
Yeah.
leaving your job must be a difficult option for you. So,
Yes.
would you like to explain a bit of that as well? How you
Right.
manage and how you cope up with the situations that were going around?
Correct. So actually, when I was in college, like this was the first company on campus, the company that I started working with eventually. So I'm sure you understand, like when you're in college, the placement cell says that, oh, this is a dream company. If you get through this company, your life is sorted. So ever since my first year, I kind of wanted to get into this company without really understanding what like consulting entailed. I had
Hmm.
no idea what management consulting was, but like just because my peers and the consulting and the career placement cell of our college said that, oh, this is a dream company for most people, and they were paying a really good pay package also, considering we were just undergrads. So I just thought that, oh, this is like a brilliant opportunity, and then I can probably do my MBA after this, because it was a big three firm, right? So a very big plus point with big three firms is that a lot of Ivy League colleges like welcome you with open arms, because they want more consulting people to join their colleges and then probably do their MBA there. So it sort of seemed like a very simple, direct path to follow. And I thought that, okay, life is pretty much solid if I get through this company. So I worked really hard towards it. Like got through that company, first company on campus, it became like a big deal. But when I got through that company, pretty much in like a month or two, I realized that, okay, this is not the right place for me. Not because there was anything wrong with the company. Like on the contrary, I met like some really smart people there. And like the work environment was amazing. They used to do like international vacations for us, and really fancy, like just very fancy as a place.
Hmm.
uh Good perks, everything was brilliant. The only reason why I did not enjoy my time there was because I felt like the things that I was good at were not being tested, like in the sense that I was developing skills that I felt like I didn't even want to become better at, if that makes sense. So there was an absolute mismatch of like, okay, skill set and what I really want to do. Like I did not feel like very passionate about the
Hmm.
work that I was in, but there were aspects of it that I really liked. So I really liked research. I really like coming up with the strategy. So that's why I recognize that I worked there for 2 years regardless, because I wanted to have that on my CV. Because
Yeah.
again, as I mentioned, it's a very good brand name to have. And
Hmm.
in fact, like when I left that job, one of my first freelancing clients I got because of my job at the consulting firm, because it was such a big name to have on your CV. And a lot of people who had already worked with that company, or were ex-employees of that company, now had their own startups. So reaching out to them became really easy, right?
Hmm.
So when I left my job, I recognized that I wanted to take parts of it and then like do my own thing.
Yeah.
So I started my own strategy, like side hustle basically. And then rather than cold emailing random people for work, I very specifically targeted people from my company and said that, oh, okay, if you have a startup now, I also have worked at this company and you also have, and like you understand that I have certain skills that I can bring to the table.
Right.
So if you get me on board as a strategist, it can be helpful for both. So actually, that's how I got my first client also. So yeah, like honestly, even though I hated that job pretty much by the end of it, I'm really glad that I did my 2 years there because it opened up a lot of doors for me afterwards.
Definitely. So it was a really nice journey of yours. So
Yeah.
there are a lot of finance influencers out there. So what makes you stand out from the crowd? This is my signature
First,
question I actually ask it to all the finance influencers.
okay, understood. No, that's a very good question actually, because that's very true. Like every time I hit refresh on Instagram, there are like five new finance influencers that come on board. I think what I think personally differentiates me is that number one, I have a finance background. I feel like a lot of people who are now creating content are creating it for the monetary aspect of things without really having any background when it comes to finance, right? So I think because I actually did 3 years of undergrad, which was solely focused on finance, I covered all of these subjects that I talk about, like right from taxation to investing to futures and options,
Yeah.
insurance. All of these were subjects that I actually studied in college. So I think I definitely have a deeper understanding of these subjects, if that makes sense. So that's definitely one differentiating point. Then the second differentiating point is my work at the consulting firm, right? So even when I was working there, my area of work was also corporate finance, so it helped me develop an even deeper understanding of, okay, the finance world and how it functions in the real world. Okay, how do companies come up with their IPOs? How
Yeah.
do discounted cash flows function? So all of these things is something that I actually learned on the job for almost 2 years. So I think that also gives me a real life perspective on, okay, while there are certain things that are available on the internet, what is the real world application of it? So I think that definitely helps me. And I think the third thing that helps me is my dad, because my as I mentioned, my dad is a CA, right? So ever since I was a child, we had that environment in our house where we were talking about money and finances just in general very openly, because my dad understood the importance of it, and I think that kind of helped me get a head start on a lot of things. So I started investing pretty much when I was 18, right? And a lot of people do that once they start earning or get their first job, probably in the 20 when they're 24, 25. So I definitely had that head start of a few years, because I started investing early, so I made all of those mistakes early. People make a lot of mistakes when it comes to investing when they turn 25, 26, probably even 30, 40, right? But because I started investing that early, and because like my dad was there to guide me through the process, I was able to fail quickly and then like learn from those mistakes and then get started the right way. And I think the last thing where I definitely feel I stand out is the characters that I play when I create content. So when I started creating content, I already had that understanding that finance is really, really overwhelming for people. Because even though I have a finance background, sometimes I get overwhelmed when I read the news or like I look
Yeah.
at business news in general. So what I wanted to do was bring in like real life characters and then simplify the content using those characters. So one of the characters that I play and has become like really popular with the audience is like a South Delhi auntie character. And if
Yeah.
you are from Delhi, you will know that there's always this fancy auntie that you know of, like who's sitting in Khan Market or Chanakyapuri, and she's just like really bougie, right? So she has no understanding of how real life finances work, but she has a lot of money. So this is a character I play very frequently with her own quirks and stuff like that. Of course, I derive inspiration from like multiple characters when I play this character. Of course, there's Kusha Kapila, and then there's some sitcoms like Sarabhai versus Sarabhai, right? So I derive a lot of inspiration from these characters when I play that character in particular. But yeah, so when I play those characters, because the audience sort of resonates with them, they're more willing to consume the content rather than like just me talking to the camera and saying, okay, oh, this is what index funds are. Because the audience enjoys the characters a lot more. And I feel that my characters sort of stand out because I have a lot of brands coming back to me saying that, oh no, we want you to play a specific character when you do like a reel. So yeah, I think the audience also resonates with certain characters more than others. Yes.
Yeah. So actually, my next question was about that only. What is your strategy to keep on engaging with your audience? So I guess you
Yeah.
have answered it all, but if you would like to add up some more facts to it, you can surely go ahead.
Yeah. So Priya, obviously the first one is playing like characters people can resonate with. South Delhi Auntie is just one, but then I also have like an HR character. you've seen an HR character in every office, so that's something that people resonate with again. Then
Yeah.
there is this South Delhi guy character which
Mhm.
I play very often when I'm like doing car insurance related reels, because he has really fancy cars but has no idea how to sort of
Yeah.
safeguard them. So there are multiple characters like that I play, and sort of people understand now that okay, how is one character different from the other, and like everyone has their own quirks when I play that particular character. Apart from that, I think something that I really actively do to engage with my audience is that I'm really, really active in the comment section. So
Okay.
if you go to any of my videos, like from the last 2 years, ever since I've been creating content, literally April, 2 years, it's April now, so it's been exactly 2 years.
Okay.
So you pick up any video and you will see that I have probably replied to 90% of the comments. And that's something that I've been doing ever since I started creating content. And the only reason I do that is because people ask such smart questions in the comment section that, number one, that helps you clarify a lot of things for the audience. Number two, it gives you a lot of video ideas for the future, right? Say
Yeah.
for example, you made a video today and somebody asks, okay, but what about this scenario? So if you feel like that scenario is popular enough, you get another video idea, right?
Yeah.
So something that I make sure that I do is that I'm very, very active in the comment section, replying to every comment, whether it's a hate comment, whether that's a compliment, whether it's a genuine question. I try to reply to everything. At least like 90% of the comments, I make
Uh,
sure that I reply to, at least in the first 48 hours. Apart from that, also I engage with the audience really, really actively in the DM section, because a lot of people sometimes also send you questions or their concerns, or like
yeah.
something happened with them that was probably wrong. Say for example, the bank tricked them in some way, right? And so they share that concern with me over the DM, so that either I can create a video out of it, or I can help them out with, okay, what you can do in that situation. So I think these are some of the ways that you can engage with the audience very, very actively when it comes to Instagram.
Exactly. So as we are talking about hate comments, so I guess finance influencers are getting a lot many hate comments because there are a lot many people who are spreading false news and false information regarding how to spend their money and what to do with the money or not. So
Right.
how you guys are tackling those hate comments and how what are your strategies to give the actual piece of information to your audience?
Right. Yeah, I think that's a very, very relevant question, because even like just on Sunday, our finance minister put out a statement saying that finance influencers should not be trusted on the face of it. And while some of them are giving genuine advice, most of them are usually like
Yeah.
saying things because they have other ulterior motives. And I think there is absolutely nothing wrong in what she said. In fact, I come across a lot of finance reels which are like spreading absolute misinformation, especially the ones which are saying that okay, buy this stock and sell it at this price, and you will make like a quick profit. Uh, so I think number one, regulations should be brought into place 100%. And I think there are already some practices that we follow so that we ensure that the audience understands that we're giving them genuine advice and just information, and it's not something that we're asking them to like act upon, right? So one thing we do, that if it's a brand partnership, we make it a point that the paid partnership tag is there. A lot of people sort of don't do it, but it's a practice that I know some influencers do follow very, very religiously. So that's the first thing you should do. So if you feel like it's a paid partnership tag, and of course you're getting a brand to sponsor the video, just make sure that the audience knows it's like a paid partnership, rather than like sort of hiding it and not disclosing it. So that's step number one. Step number two is to actually work with brands you think you actually use yourself, right? So whenever I partner with a brand, I make sure that I, number one, use that app myself for some
Okay.
significant amount of time, like not just for a day or two, but like actually significant amount of time, to know,
Mhm.
okay, what are the concerns that I would face as a consumer, and
Mhm.
what are the concerns that my audience might face in a similar
Yeah.
situation, and then try and like ask the hard questions to the brand itself. So you
Oh,
won't believe, but there was a leading bank in the country, and they came to me with like a brief that they wanted to do a paid partnership with. Not only did I say no, but I actually asked them the right questions. Like the brief that they sent was absolute misinformation. And this is one of the biggest banks in the country, by the way.
Okay.
Not only did I say no to the partnership itself, but I also like when we got on the call with the brand, I
Hmm.
told them that okay, this whatever you've mentioned is absolute misinformation. So even if you're sending out the brief to other creators, you should probably change these guidelines. And this has happened multiple times
Okay.
over.
Yeah.
This has happened once with a credit card company. The kind of things that they mentioned in the brief were again wrong about credit score and stuff like that. So again,
Hmm.
asking the hard questions to the brand as an influencer is very important so that you can safeguard your audience from
Hmm.
it. So that's step number two. And step number three is I think the onus also sort of lies on the audience
Hmm.
because the influencers can only do so much, right? Like an influencer should be seen as the bridge between the information that exists in the market, and they're just trying to simplify that for you somehow.
Hmm.
But just because we're mentioning a product or just because we're mentioning some certain information,
Yeah.
that doesn't mean that it's the right fit for you, right?
Hmm.
Say, for example, I might be talking about debt funds. While
Hmm.
those instruments in and of itself are great, they
Hmm.
have like certainly a role to play in the economy, but that might not be the right fit for you. So it's very important for the audience also to understand their personal sort of time horizon, risk appetite, what is right for them, and then make an informed decision rather than just like blindly consuming content on the internet.
Okay. So, your point number two actually mentioned the answer of my next question, which was like, how do you filter out the brands?
Right.
So, my other question actually it is the other story I'm working on. It is actually about our minister's quote.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to know what is your take on that? Ki how we can like how these false news, false fake news are emerging day by day, and what the creators or influencers should do about it, and how they should promote the right piece of information.
Right. So I think the reason why false information is picking up so much is because the kind of claims they make is like, okay, get rich quick scheme. And a
Yeah,
lot of people sort of fall prey to it because, of course, they're like playing on their vulnerabilities that, okay, if you don't have money, even
hmm,
if you have no money, I'll help you make like a lakh overnight. Like just
yeah,
absurd claims, right? Okay,
hmm,
you buy my course and then you'll become like financially independent in like 15
yeah,
days. So just absurd claims, and people sort of when they're in that vulnerable position sort of fall prey to it because they're kind of looking for a way out. So it's
exactly.
absolutely, I think it's a criminal offense to kind of play on someone's
Yeah,
like vulnerabilities. Like it's just like a fairness cream advertisement saying that, oh, like we'll make you really fair,
yeah,
just playing on someone's insecurities. That's
hmm,
exactly what a lot of like finance courses are now doing, or finance creators are now doing. So a very good way for the audience also to filter out the process is just understand what's the background of the creator. um Before you even follow a creator, make sure that you understand, okay, what is like if they're giving me investment advice specifically, say
hmm,
see if they're talking about say insurance or taxation, it's
hmm,
just good to know information, right? They're not asking you to really invest in a particular stock or a mutual fund. So there's
yeah,
probably no underlying vendetta there. But when it comes to, okay, you buy this stock and this will make you multimillionaire, it could be a pump and dump scheme, right? That's what happened with a lot of cryptos also. So a very good way to go about it is, especially when they're giving investment advice, is
hmm,
number one, check if they're SEBI registered or not. Because when they're SEBI registered, there are already a lot of guidelines that SEBI has put out that they need to follow on the regular. So you are already safeguarded, right?
yeah,
Especially when it comes to investing advice.
okay,
Not saying that whatever SEBI registered people are saying is like something that you should follow blindly, but
hmm,
at least it's better than someone who's not SEBI registered. That's step number one. Step number two, understand whether at all what they're talking about, they understand that themselves or not, right? Because now, if you're creating a 60-second reel, you don't really have to be an expert on the topic to make a video out of it, right? You can just read like 5 articles on it and make a video out of it. And some people don't even do that. Some people just copy content and then they create their own, right? That's something that's a rampant practice, unfortunately, now in the industry. So understand that, okay, is this creator someone who takes out time to create number one original content? Are they actually putting in the efforts to come up with the ideas and doing their proper research?
hmm,
And number three, what you can look for, which is I think a very good litmus test, is that go through the captions. So
hmm,
because it's a 60-second video, sometimes we are also bound by the time. We can't put all the information that we want to about the topic in just the video itself, which is why it's very important to go through the caption. And in the caption, a lot of influencers also provide the sources of the information. So what you can do is that go to that source of the information and then read up more about it and understand that subject at a deeper level, right? So
Mhm.
if you do these 3 4 things, I think you'll be at least like you'll filter out a lot of creators you shouldn't be following anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, as there are a lot many budding influencers as well, so if you'd like to share something with them, if you'd like to suggest something to them, so yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I think my first piece of advice, if I can offer some, is that consistency is everything. And that's because some videos will perform well and some will not. And when videos are performing well, you automatically want to create more content, right? Because you're getting that validation, you're getting that motivation to create more content. But there inevitably will be times when there'll be no growth, right? You will not see views come to your videos, and videos will just tank. I think that's when consistency is even more important. Just keep consistent with it, whether or not you're getting the results or not. That's step number one. Step number two is to as create content which is very unique to you, right? Because now, because everyone's doing what everyone else is doing,
Yeah.
there is no differentiation per se, like as you rightly asked, right? Like what differentiates you as a finance influencer? So ask yourself that question. Okay, is it your characters? Is it the topics that you pick up? Is it the scripts that you write? Pick up what is it that you stand out as an influencer, and then sort of double down on it, because otherwise you're just lost in the crowd of like 100 200 already existing finance influencers. So try and understand, okay, how am I like differentiating myself, and then try to also create a personal brand. And number three is to diversify your platforms. Just don't be on one platform, try to be at least on three. uh, in my personal advice would be to at least also get on LinkedIn, because it's an easier platform to create content on, because it's just you just have to write there. You don't really have to create video content for the platform. And writing is something you can do from anywhere. You might not be able to shoot a video, but you will be able to write an article, right? So try to be at least on 2 to 3 platforms apart from like just one, because and a platform could just disappear overnight, right? Like we saw that with TikTok. And the algorithms might keep changing. So it's very important that you are at least diversified in terms of your presence. Yeah.
So yeah,
Sorry,
I
I can't.
think I am done with my questions. If you would like to add up something else.
Not really. I think you asked all the right questions. I was able to cover pretty much from like pretty much everything I wanted to say, right from my journey to like my advice to the news creators. So yeah,
Yeah, that's great. It's a really nice interacting with you.
same here.